We want to help. Send your questions to info@collegeknowledge.net. These can be about college, finances, careers, and anything else you have questions on. Welcome to the College Knowledge Podcast, sponsored by the College Planning Network and Paradigm Financial Group. Whether you're searching for that right fit college, applying to college, or figuring out how you're going to afford it all, you're in the right place. You'll hear from deans, admissions counselors, student athletes, and scholars from esteemed universities and colleges around the country. We'll dig deep to uncover their insight and unique experiences. So whether you're a student gearing up for college or a parent with college-bound kids, sit back, relax, and listen. Like you, we have lots of questions. Our guests have the answers, and we're excited to share them with you. Let's get started. Welcome back to another season of College Knowledge. I'm your host, Dave Kozak, alongside my co-host, Mr. Joe Kearns.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Yeah, Happy New Year is right. And, well, Joe, we're officially launching season 2.
Yep.
It was a long first season, Joe. It was a long first season.
Very extended series.
Extended series.
First season, yep.
I would say when we got into it, we weren't necessarily, I don't think we were thinking about seasons, were we?
No, I don't. No, but you know, it's funny. I get asked all the time, like, "Oh, how busy are you? Does your schedule get lighter anytime?" I said, "Well, reality is when you deal with college, it becomes so cyclical, right?"
Yeah.
And I think it's when we talked about it, I said, "Oh, yeah, let's do seasons." So, hey, for season 3, it's going to be similar to what we talk about in January the previous year. So we'll have new guests and new areas, a new area of topic, but they'll still be, hey, certain times of the year it'll be same conversations, just what has changed. And so I thought it was, I like the idea of doing seasons now.
Yeah, I agree. And I think that it's interesting in the college arena because the cyclical nature is a little different, right? What families are going through now if they're on their journey to college, whether you have a child that's a senior who's getting their award letters and acceptance letters, or whether you have a junior who's kind of ramping up the process and writing that last essay. And it definitely has its seasons, which is interesting too. And I think the landscape has also shifted to the point where, and is continually shifting now, more than it ever has in my experience in this industry, which is 15 years. I don't remember the pace of change being nearly what it is today. And I think, obviously we can credit some of that to coronavirus and that debacle. I think you can credit some of it to the debt problems that the country has, the college debt, the college cost problems, but things are seeming to change, month by month. Whereas it used to be, every 5-7 years, you'd see some change.
Right.
The other thing I've noticed too, and we'll get into what we're going to talk about today, but is I don't remember legislation affecting college as much previously. There were laws passed. I have the list of laws that have passed. But it seems like anything that goes through now has some college component to it.
Yeah. And, I always look at it and, when I studied it, it's when college costs really started going up big time is when the government got involved.
Yeah.
And they have gotten more involved. And now, again, because of the pandemic and certain things that have happened, bills that have been passed, it's even more. And as you said, the process is changing drastically. The FAFSA alone has been, I don't know, when was the last time the FAFSA was truly different? I looked back at the 2002 FAFSA, and if you compared it to 2022 FAFSA, it was, some numbers changed, but not really different.
I guess the biggest change in recent times is going online with it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest change, but that was an inevitability.
Right. But as far as the math behind it, the formula behind it, the questions that they would ask, it was, very, very similar, just the slight changes with inflation and, but now, we're seeing potentially next year or the year after when it actually, a huge change with that, which is going to drastically change the whole process for students and for colleges.
And not for the better, in my opinion.
We have a whole episode from last season that we did on it, and kind of I joke and said it's called the FAFSA Simplification Act, And I said, I'm calling it the College Complication Act.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
It's not the, again, we don't need to get into when the government gets involved. Things always tend to work out 100% better, right?
Yeah.
but no, I mean, it is, there are things that are changing a lot outside of just the cost, right?
Yep.
I mean, and then again, part of it with the pandemic, the colleges themselves have had to pivot. SATs, you had to send now it's really become optional. There were schools that were kind of leaning that way towards pre-pandemic, but now it's
kind of the norm now, right? As opposed to the exception.
And then you got College Board changing what the SAT is going to be.
Yeah.
Right. And how the kids are going to take it. So, I mean, yeah, you talk about even 3-4 years ago, how drastically different it is. I mean, parents come to me all the time and say, well, it seems, it's a lot different than it was when I went to school. Now you got parents that are going to be saying, this is different than when my older child went to school, just 3 years ago, which is true, so there are a lot of things that are constantly changing.
Yeah. And I initially when I got into the college kind of planning space and just to give everybody kind of insight, what we're going to do today is talk a little bit about who we are, how we got in this role, what credentials we have to be discussing this stuff and how this has kind of turned into our life's work, for lack of a better expression. But when I got into it, it was different because it was more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't different because of the amount of change that has taken place. Yeah. Right. I mean, if you look back to roughly around the year 2000, when the price just started on a straight line increase, there's more money involved. There's more people involved. There's more politics involved. There's more wokeism involved. There's more cancel culture involved. There's just more involved than ever was. And I think a lot of that we can credit to the connection made in, the internet. Right?
Yeah, social media.
All Twitter, of that stuff, right? So there's, and with the good comes the bad. Mm-hmm. There's no question about it. And there are a couple of things from the pandemic that are, I think, an improvement to the system. There's a lot of things that are a lack of improvement. And, what the coveted college education used to be, is it still there? Does it have the same effect? I saw a meme today and it said, you don't hear governments trying to figure out how to forgive loans for technical colleges because they all got useful degrees that can earn money. Now I'm not agreeing with that in any way, shape, or form. I'm just saying it kind of hit home.
Yeah. And I mean, again, when you watch, the news, now, I mean, again, things have changed. And I think part of it is what you said with the internet, with social media, right? But you don't hear a lot of, usually if you hear the news talking about a college, it's not good. No. It is that the cancel culture, or it is, hey, this allegation, or it's, this, bad. But again, the good news doesn't always get the viewers, doesn't get the following. So I think sometimes you have to drown that noise out. But
we talked a lot about the noise, and we discussed the noise a lot. And it's funny you say that, Joe, because I don't know that news. When was the last time you heard really good news? Like from
in general,
from news outlets or from media, like they thrive on that. That negativity, right?
Oh, it's something else when you step out of it for a week and you realize, oh, the world isn't awful.
Yeah. And it's not falling apart and people aren't evil. And
but I mean, you take, that type of, media, you take and you add that with social media.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, if that's what you're kind of looking at as life, it's where are the good things? They're here. They exist. You just don't hear about them.
Well, it's funny. The point I was trying to make earlier that I dropped the ball on was when I started this, I questioned whether it was a true profession or like a side gig to another profession, or is it just something to be an expert in? And, I don't question it any longer in any way, shape, or form, because number one, there's a giant industry built around getting your kids to college.
Mm-hmm.
There's an entire financial institution that quote unquote aids the
Mhm.
process. And the amount of technological advancements in the recruiting and the admissions process has changed the landscape completely. And so I think in terms of the modern era for college admissions and the financial planning around college and all that, it's more important today than it ever was.
Mhm.
Not saying not saying it didn't used to be important,
Mhm.
but college cost 10 grand and the fittest survived.
Right.
Well, it's not the fittest anymore that gets into the school. It's not the right candidate, it could be the check in the box. It could be a multitude of things. And you can love or hate anything that we're talking about, but it's true.
Right.
Right. That's the key to what we try and bring to the table is we're not trying to put our convictions into things or our opinions on things.
Mhm.
We're telling how it is. There are colleges that check boxes and accept people.
Mhm.
There are colleges that reject people for odd reasons that don't make a lot of sense. That person seems like they were a shoe in or a fit in there. There is a lot of connection between money, admissions, and how the whole system takes place.
Mhm.
And if you don't believe that it's a giant game, you haven't been listening to what we've been talking
Right.
about or what we've been explaining,
Mhm.
and the rules of that game.
Yeah.
So let's start kind of who we are and how we got here,
Sure.
Joe, right?
Yeah.
Because you listen to us on the regular, you hear from us. We like to ask good questions of people that are in the know, but we're not novices in this in this arena, right? So give me kind of your background and foray into this, Joe, and how you got here.
Sure. So I guess I go back to it was right after I got married. I was a store manager for a sporting goods store.
Mm-hmm.
The week I got back from my honeymoon, I was basically asked to resign. I was let go the week I got back. Got multiple offers from other retailers at the time. And from there, my wife made her first spousal decision and said, no, that's a job. I want you to find a career. So, I had basically looked around, started interviewing, but again, it was a couple years out because I had a full-time job. I worked my way through college, worked my way up the reins. And now all of a sudden I had a decent paying job that necessarily didn't really require what I was going to school for. It was kind of, hey, I get my degree and this is allows me to get married, right? I can support a family with this salary.
Yeah.
So that was my goal in life. Like, hey, I didn't really care if I was happy. I just knew my passion was always helping other people.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I enjoyed helping other people become managers and helping the customer come in and find the right baseball bat. Like whatever it was, that was always my drive, was just to help. So once that happened, I basically told my wife, I said, look, it's not something, people lose their jobs all the time. It was the first time I think I've said in other podcasts, like I always used to think that asking for help was a sign of weakness.
Mm-hmm.
And that was it was later in life. I wish I'd learned that lesson earlier, but he said, you have to ask for help. And I told my wife, you have to tell everybody that I'm looking for work, and I might need some help in finding a job that's a fit. And it just so happened that a coworker of hers, whose husband, who I had known, was a financial advisor. He was a manager at a firm. And as soon as he heard that I was looking, he immediately called me, and said, Joe, you got to come and see what we do. Cause I think this is perfect.
Yeah.
For your, your personality, the way that you interact with people. This is it. So met with him and said, yeah, I think this is something that I want. And so for about 5 years, I was, an advisor and had different areas that I specifically would help people with, people with pensions and pension maximization strategies, retirement protection. And look, it was not like I didn't enjoy it, but at the same time, it was things like you said, that you don't know a good financial plan until 25 years later. So am I really giving these people the right advice? Was always kind of in the back of my mind. Like, I help people protect things. So the only time I know what I did was 100% truly the best was if something really bad happened.
Yeah. No.
Hey, I helped you protect it. And then I had a client, that had a junior in high school and flat out asked me, hey, Joe, can you help us fill out the FAFSA? I thought to myself, sure. I've done taxes, I've reviewed people's taxes. I've helped them. I've gone into the system and understood how it works and, how you answer certain questions. When I started looking at the FAFSA, I was blown away at how much I didn't know. And that led me down this rabbit hole that I found out at that point that not only was there a ton of stuff that I didn't know, and I don't like being in that position at all when I have a client. I don't BS. I don't just say, oh yeah, this is the answer. No, I don't know the answer. Let me go find that out.
Yep.
And I realized that there was an entire world that was just not talked about. When you're an advisor, it's, if you want to save for college, 529s, but let's be realistic. You can borrow for college. You can't borrow for retirement. Put your money in retirement is what I was told by multiple managers and multiple firms. So again, that's what I thought. That's what I did. When I got into down that rabbit hole, I realized, oh my God, not only was there so much I didn't know, but what I was telling my clients and the advice that I was giving was probably the exact opposite of what they should be doing, because it was going to cause them to pay more for college.
Yep.
And I 100% said, okay, why doesn't anybody know this? So I got to dive in. And in the financial world, I was always told, you have to find a niche, you have to find a target market. And, like I said, it was pension maximization was my entire year. So it was specifically people that had pensions, but it's not always easy to find those people. Not every job offers them.
A lot fewer now than used to.
So I had a year where I worked specifically with families that had children with special needs, but you have to kind of separate yourself from somebody just, I manage a retirement account.
Yeah.
Well, what makes you different than the guy down the road? So at first I thought, well, this will be a way that I can differentiate myself from other advisors. I can be the college guy. And that's when I found the National Institute for Certified College Planners, got past tests, studied, got the professional designation. And then from what I learned from going through earning that designation, I basically went around my firm. And it was a firm with 55 advisors. And I asked the most simplest of college questions, things like, what is an EFC? I got deer in headlights from every advisor. No one knew what it was. And I found myself that I was teaching these people, the head of the planning department had no clue how financial aid worked, no idea how schools met need, and that a private school could be potentially cheaper, And, I don't need to go into the full story there, but essentially it got to the point where I realized, well, these people, not only, it got to a point where I realized it wasn't that they didn't know, but even when I tried to educate them, they didn't care.
Yeah, willful ignorance.
And I knew right then and there that I was going to start my own shop, is essentially where I was going with them. Started taking on some clients that were, college bound seniors and kind of coaching them through the process. And then said, all right, I got to focus on this. If I want to do this as my own shop, I got to see what other competition does. So I started spying on any type of college presentation I could see, and I saw a lot, and they were all just, for me, reiterating. I said, oh my God, I can be the best, because what these people are saying is just wrong. And then I saw that I was literally by chance, I had a meeting that was in Malvern, Pennsylvania. And while I was driving there from my office at a client's house, they had a call, they had an emergency, I had to cancel the meeting. I just so remember that I said, Elite Collegiate Planning is doing one at Immaculata University. I got a meeting, I can't make it. So when they canceled it, I was 5 minutes away from Immaculata. The presentation started in 10 minutes. So I went in and saw Elite Collegiate Planning, which is your company.
Yeah.
Right. I saw your presentation. I went in there and they asked questions like, how old are your kids? And things like that. I'm like, oh yeah, I got a 14-year-old and a 16-year-old, and I'm lying.
Try fake it till you make it.
But I was so impressed with what the information that was given out, and said, okay, these guys got it. And it feels to me that I'm starting from scratch. I don't know if I want to be competitors with them. And so I went right up to the presenter afterwards and said, look, hey, I don't have kids in high school. My oldest, I think at the time, was 4 or 5 years old. And said, are you guys hiring?
Yeah.
Because I just got my designation. I'm realizing that this is something that is very specific. And it kind of came from there. And I think why I became extremely passionate about it. One, because again, I never like giving people bad advice, especially if I know I just can't do it. It's not in my gut to knowingly say, hey, I know how this works. So just when I went down that rabbit hole. I couldn't tell people to do something because I knew in the back in my heart it was wrong.
Yep.
So immediately I knew that this is something that could help people, and kind of goes back to even when I was managing a sporting goods store.
Mm-hmm.
It was driven around helping people. And now I'm going, okay, well, now I can start to help people. And we won't know if we know 25 years from now. We're going to know in a year or 6 months or 2 years. And that started to drive me. And then when I got into working with Elite Collegiate Planning, Paradigm Financial Group, and actually sitting in front of clients and realizing, I think, just how misinformed so many families are, but then also like how lost they were. And when you sit down with a client and you now give them everything, you educate them on everything that you just learned, and you get the response of, my God, I wish that we met you 5 years ago. Immediately, you know, you had an impact, that you were helping that family. Yeah. And that is what has been my drive, you know, being here for almost 5 years now. Has it been? Yeah. And so I tell everybody, it's, you know, as much as I help people with their college strategies, you know, my knowledge has grown from this podcast, from just being in the game, from talking with other advisors, from talking to guidance counselors. I've been able to pass on so much more information that it feels fantastic, you know, to be able to deliver all that. And it's, you know, it's never Groundhog's Day, even though I might meet 5 families in one day that all have a junior in high school. It's never, every family's so unique, what they're trying to accomplish from a financial side, the schools that are a good fit, the schools they're trying to get into. Everybody's so different that it's not like I'm just repeating the same conversation over and over. And that's the other thing that keeps me, you know, driven, is that, you're unique, your problems need a unique solution. And to be able to deliver that has been, I'll tell you, so gratifying. And I joke and I say, you know, my wife, she loves her job, but she constantly says to me, she's like, I wish that I had a job that you do. I said, well, you want to come work for us? And she's like, no, just how passionate you are. Like you are excited to do what you do. It's obviously, it is a career. It's something now that, you know, you're going to do this for the rest of your life, you know? And she said, like, she loves her job, but if there was something, she would leave in a heartbeat. I know that I'm never going to do something else right now. So unless college just totally becomes free and the government pays for everything, then I have to shift things around. But
and then your taxes go up and you can just focus on tax.
I'm just paying for everybody else's college.
Well, and Joe, you 2 comments that I think are like staggering in the amount of such a common response, that willful ignorance piece where people just don't care. Advisors just don't care. You know, my experience is similar from a completely different perspective, but same kind of thing, like unfulfilled, liked what I was doing, was having success at it, but it wasn't a career. It was like, I can run this shop. I can do this business. I can sell insurance, or I could sell financial services. And like, we had enough business coming in the door that was fun. But I just remember the feeling, and this is just after 2008, financial collapse. Everybody's in panic. I remember the feeling of swimming around in shark-infested waters. And it wasn't like, it was a visceral, like, oh my God, like these people make me feel not proud of what I was doing. Like it was one of those moments where, I'm making money, and, you know, I've got a nice house, and I'm paying for my cars, but it was, I looked across the table. I'll never forget it. I was at a conference, and it was a table of 8, you know, standard conference room. We got round tables, and there were 4 guys across from me that all worked for the same company, and they were all in suits and ties, and like they just took themselves so seriously. And turns out all they did was mutual fund portfolios. That was it. And like they were somehow thinking they were better than me sitting across the table, and in talking with them, because I lean into that stuff. I like to know. Oh, and all they could do is just talk about their strategies and how much money they can make people and all this. And I'm sitting here going, it's 2009, buddy. Like, you're making people all that money. What'd you lose last year? Like, how much money did you lose for people in your strategies, you know? And I never wanted to be that person on the other side of the table.
Yeah.
Right. And so, and I had a pretty successful property and casualty company, and I was affiliated with Allstate at the time. I had financial licenses. I was kind of going through the same experience of just doing the daily thing. And, you know, I made a habit of finding people that were more successful than me and sitting on their elbow and saying, what do you do? And they told me what to do. And I just went and did it. But it was unfulfilling. 2 kids at the time. I have 4 now. And I got something in the mail about college planning. And it was just enough of an intrigue ping to be like, all right, what's this about? Like, what's the deal? Because we had been developing a niche-based marketing program, which is all the stuff you talk about in the financial world. Niche-based, find the niche, dive into the niche, and it'll open up other opportunities, et cetera, et cetera. And I never wanted to be the pension max or I never wanted to be the, you know, the boglehead of, oh, you just got to buy index mutual funds and you'll be fine. And the thought of that wash, rinse, and repeat was it was killing me. Like, is this am I going to have conversations about people's home and auto coverage and their mutual fund portfolios for the rest of my life? Is that the extent of this conversation?
Thank you guys for being a part of College Knowledge, powered by Elite Collegiate Planning. If you didn't know, we have a free crash course on college funding at elitecollegiateplanning.com. This will explain different types of loans, types of financial aid, savings vehicles, and much more. And remember, plan early and pay less.
And if you talk to guys that do the one trick pony or do the one thing, they just love it, right? They don't just love it. They love the money of it. And so it was very obvious that greed was the biggest factor in it. So to me, it was like, all right, well, what about college excites me? Number one, my college experience was phenomenal. I went to a 4-year school. I played baseball, as in a fraternity. I did anything you could do in college, got dual major. And, you know, it was like the best experience. So I'm going, well, if I can help that, and then I can help parents not bankrupt their retirement, like what does that do for a career? And then listen, I'm a capitalist, right? I'm a business owner. I obviously have invested millions of dollars into this whole thing. The one thing that I was taught very early in the P&C world is like, okay, you get a client, they got a product, right? They buy a home insurance from you, right? They're going to stay with you for 3 years. You get a client that has a home insurance and an auto insurance, they're going to stay with you for 5 years. You get home, auto, and a life insurance policy, 7 to 11 years. You get home, auto, life insurance, mutual funds, 529s. You know, you're talking about 20 to 25 years of client lifespan. Well, that all hinges on one thing, that you do it right. And what I learned when I dug into the college piece is I wasn't doing it right. I was selling 529s now, and this is not a poo-poo on 529s.
Right.
529s have their place, and they are a fantastic tool for the right family and the right environment, looking at the right things. The point was, I was telling people to buy them. That was put $50 a month. You'll be fine. You get 18 years. You would just keep stockpiling money in there. It'll grow. It'll be fine. It doesn't. And it's not that it doesn't grow. It's just that it doesn't cover. Right. When it doesn't cover, you got to have the contingency plan. You got to have the backup.
Yeah.
So anyway, I dug into the college thing. It was fascinated by the complexity of how college actually works. Love the admission side. Love helping the student and the parent and the grandparent at the same time. Multi-generational planning. It was like all of a sudden I'm now born again. I've got the motivation, the inspiration to do all this, to build the companies out and to go through that process. So, you know, I've basically been all except for 2 years of my professional life have been involved in this in some fashion or another. So I think and going back to that comment I was making on like the lifetime value of a client, I hate saying that, but it's real. In a business, you got to be able to create profit. When you help them with their home and auto because they need help with it, or they've never even looked at their policies, they don't even care, they've just bought whatever their uncle, brother, friend told them they should buy. Then you help them with their kids' college planning. You help them with the college admissions planning. You help them with their retirement planning. You help them with all of it, and you make it and you bring it to fruition.
Mm-hmm.
And you do it with the most valuable asset they have, which is their student, their child, the person they've spent 18 years cultivating, right? People love it.
Yeah.
They want it. And you know what the best part is? It works.
Yeah.
That's what people care about. Does it work? And I think it gets to a point where, you can sling products or you can sell people things. And at the end of the day, if it doesn't work, they're going to be gone.
Yeah.
We don't have that. People don't leave, right?
Yeah. And I think one of the biggest things that coming here and the change that, because I was doing some college planning prior to that, but was also the addition of having the College Planning Network.
Yeah.
Which is one of our proud sponsors.
Yeah.
Right? And advisors. It's essentially a tool to, like I was, you kind of sit in that position like, hey, I can help a family on the financial side, but that's only about half the game.
Yeah.
You got to find the right schools. You got to do the right things to get in. You got to have a timeline that you need to manage. You need people to make sure forms are filled out correctly. And so having that aspect of the College Planning Network is really, I think, what drove me to realize how different my career would become. Like I could see like the light 5 years in the future, 5 years ago when we were first having conversations, because it was, wait a minute, like I can help families figure out the right way to save. I can help them lower their expected family contribution. Hey, get into an Ivy League education for cheaper than an in-state. It doesn't happen for everybody, but like I knew the formula. I knew how to make certain things work in that area, but I didn't know the back end, the counseling side. I didn't know, well, what do you have to do to get into that type of institution? What are other schools? Like, why is that school? Is it because it's ranked high? Well, no. You got to dig deeper into that. And so having that is where I realized, my God, you go to someone for the financial advice, you go to somebody completely different for the counseling,
and
the admissions,
to one another.
and none of them. And so having that world together, I realized that, okay, not only am I so passionate about this, and my story is the exact opposite of yours with the college. I did everything wrong. I did not have a good college experience.
Yep.
And I think that's part of why I don't want people to make the mistakes that I did.
Yeah.
Right. I didn't do the right thing in looking for schools. I didn't do the right thing from a potential major. I didn't fill out the FAFSA, but like I did everything that you potentially could do wrong. I transferred multiple times. I lost credits. And I don't want anybody to go through. And now I thank God I went to school with the price when it was.
Yeah.
Not the price now, because I wouldn't have been able to get out of debt. But when you incorporate like the passion that I don't want people to have that. And then all of a sudden saying that this is one roof that does all of this, I was all in, you know, and it really has come. And then that has led us to where we're at today, where the company now, we've actually acquired the College Planning Network, and we've made improvements with them.
Yep.
And made some amazing, I think, things. What families, you hear it all the time. The families that use that, they came in and then they didn't have a clue. And now you talk to them and like, oh, well, I got to look at this, this, and this. I'm like, yeah, you got it.
That's right.
You're understanding it. It's great.
And I think it's funny that not enough people take seriously what we're talking about for two reasons. The first is you can do everything right financially. Great.
Mm-hmm.
You pick the wrong school, it's still going to sting.
Right.
It's going to hurt. Right. But if you pick the right school, and we talk about the right school, the right fit, the right academic, social, and financial fit.
Yeah.
Like that's our big thing. Right. But it's not simply, oh my God, my kid got into the best possible school they could get into. It's not, it has nothing to do with that. It has to do with being strategic about how you address college.
Mm-hmm.
And while picking a right fit school may be getting good SATs and good grades, and maybe picking a challenging school with a low acceptance rate, all those things can be real. But it is picking it with a financial understanding of what is going to go on when you choose to attend that institution that people underestimate the benefit of. We talk about the opportunity cost of money all the time. We talk about things that, if you don't have to spend that extra $100,000 and it can be invested for 20 years, what's the difference? You walked away from $400,000, not the $100,000 of expense at the time. And it doesn't always have to be some crazy struggle if you just dig in or listen to the experts, right? I mean, that's the bottom line. And I think back to my first, I my first seminar that I did where I, sent out mailers and got a bunch of people to an auditorium and educated them on the system and, got a full calendar of appointments, to the virtual environment that we run, to the websites that we have, to the college planning network, to the live events we do for the school districts that want support in this. We've come from, hey, send out 3,500 mailers, and now to be invited as guest speakers at different institutions across the country. So obviously we've made it somewhere. We're not done yet. I did
speaking of guest speaking, Dave, you had a nice be able to speak. Was it Times Square?
Yeah, it was a very cool event for Times Square Today TV show where they were interviewing entrepreneurs who had made an impact on their communities, and they go up to Times Square, put you on the marquee, they do a full film shoot above you, it goes out on TV, and it was a pretty cool experience from that standpoint. But the reality is it's being recognized now to what we're doing, and it's being broadcast on television, it's being seen everywhere. And it just, again, another point of validation and validity. And for the effort, there was an award given called an XB Award, which is pretty cool. I'll play a little soundbite here from it. I'm not bashful. Let me get this tuned up here.
Sure, we need the producer.
Yeah, where's that guy?
Hey, cue it up. Clip one.
Yeah, where's
clip one?
Where's the SB, Mr. Producer? But the end result was it's the idea that companies are picking us out, saying, "Hey, you guys are making a difference. We want to know how you're doing it, what you're doing, and we want to share it with people." So
yeah.
Here we go.
And the recipient of the XP Award in Media Communications, David Kozak, Times Square Today TV show.
Handsome fella.
You look good.
I will say I had to wear a tie.
You didn't go bow tie, though?
Couldn't do it.
Hold on.
And Dave's not shy.
No.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the 2022 XP Award at the Beverly Hilton. I'm Ryan Ruff, live here on the red carpet with the one and only David Kozak, fresh off the stage from earning an XP Award tonight for his work on the Times Square Today TV show. First off, Dave, really exciting night. How you feeling, my man?
You know what? It's awesome, man. I'm thankful to be here, and I appreciate the recognition, and I'm proud of what we're doing.
Well, speaking of being proud of what you're doing, Times Square Today TV show, why you're being recognized tonight, what was the message that you're really trying to share and get across on the show?
We were talking about college planning, and we've done a lot of work in the space to try and help multi-generations in the same family to, give the child the college education of their dreams, and at the same time, not have the parents go broke trying to afford it. So we're very proud of the work we've done. I've got an amazing team. It's been very awesome.
Dave, that is such a pertinent topic in today's day and age, and I love to hear that somebody's out there doing work in this space. I got to ask, before we let you get back to a night of well-earned celebration, what's next? What's on the horizon for Dave Kozak?
We've got an incredible team. We're able to help families. There is an infinite amount of families that need help in this space, right? Everybody wants a college education. Everybody wants to kind of get ahead in life. And, our mission is to not make it bankrupt families. So I think we've got lots of people to help, and our company's going to do great things in the future.
Oh, Dave, I'm very excited for you. We wish you the best of luck in those endeavors. We'll let you get back to a night of really well-earned celebration, and we will see you guys back here on the red carpet in just a moment.
Yeah, so cool event.
I was gonna say, it's got to feel pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, the red carpet, the going across the stage, the interviews, the lights, the flash. I'm not necessarily all about that stuff, but it was cool. I think one of the points that is critical takeaway from that is like, I'm being interviewed on the red carpet after I get this award. And the interviewer is like, man, that's like that's amazing work. I'm
Yeah.
glad there are people out there doing that. And I think that is my mission moving forward, is to let people know that we're here to do this, to help people, right? Because I don't know if it's just the ostrich syndrome or willful ignorance.
Yeah.
But how many, I mean, Joe, you said it in your little spiel, right? Like how many people have said to you at the table, God, I wish I met you 5 years ago.
Yeah. They didn't even know that people like me. I mean, I've been in financial circles and say, oh yeah, I'm a certified college planning specialist, certified college funding specialist, and education loan analyst. 3 designations that I've earned. And everyone's like, well, you mean like a CFP? I'm like, no, that's CCPS, certified college planning specialist. I've never heard of that. What is it? People don't know. And I'm not saying you don't have to have that designation, just like you don't have to be a CPA to be a good advisor, right? It's essentially just something that came along with, I studied, I passed tests. There were some letters that came in, but people don't even know that those tests exist. People don't know, even in the financial world, that this is something that people do actually specialize in, right? They don't know. And if people in the financial world don't know, you absolutely would believe that parents don't know that people like us exist. And so hearing that, and that's exactly what, when I heard that, I'm going, yes, that's it. Like, yes, hey, great. We're getting, the message is getting out there that people are starting to recognize, hey, wow, okay, these guys do specifically plan for families for this. And it's not just the counseling, it's, there's financial specialists that plan to maximize financial aid, plan the right way. It's just, hearing that, it felt good. It was like, man, great. And because look, I said it's about helping people. I honestly don't care a lot of times if it's even me. Like when I meet with families, I say to them, like, look, we're not the best fit for everyone, but you got to go find someone. And if it can start to be recognized that there are actual college planners out there that know what they're talking about, we talk about shifting through the noise, that know what they're talking about. That's the goal that I want to have happen. Is just, I want people to know, that families to know that there is real help out there and there are experts in multiple areas of this college process, that social, academic, and financial fit. Man, hearing that, it's like, oh, we're on our way. It might not always be us, but people are going to start to know. And if we had an impact on why people know that there's experts out there, that's powerful.
Agreed. And I think there's a distinction I always like to try and talk through with people, because I feel like the term financial planner is thrown around like entirely too much.
Oh yeah.
Even people that are what you would call certified financial planners don't actually plan.
Right.
The reason college is so impactful and is such a necessary thing to plan for is because it is a crossroads you will face. Right. And I think for 100 years, there's been retirement specialists and stock traders and bond traders and things like that. Right. And we missed out for a long time on the sequential nature of existence, right? You start, you're born, you have a kid, you start saving, you start, you build a house, you make a life, you start putting away for retirement, you start putting away for college. But all of that is the common knowledge, the sacred cows of how this thing goes, right? But planning requires thought and diligence, and it requires an effort towards a goal, towards an end result. I talk to families all the time, and they're like, well, what do you do? I'm like, I help people establish goals is really what I do in life, right? I help you sit down and say, this is a goal for us. We need to achieve this. How are we going to achieve it? Whether it's buy a boat or pay for weddings or pay for college or travel the world when they retire or buy a second home or buy a rental or vacation, whatever it is, right? All I really do is try and get people to make decisions about what they actually want and have purpose towards their decisions in their life, and then help them figure out how to get there. Yeah. But and there was a book that Jack Bogle wrote called Enough. And the concept was, how much is enough money? Like, what is enough? What do you need? And I think in common pop culture, right, you can't have enough, right? We're in a society of not enough. There's not enough. There's not enough reels. There's not enough Facebook likes. There's not enough travel you can do. There's not enough resorts and vacations you can take. There's just not enough. And I think that's a problem, number one, that a planner establishes what's enough, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to push you to the brink of what's enough. Joe.
Yeah.
You need $93,000 to send your kid to University of Chicago. Are you going to pay for all of it? Is it enough? Can you afford 4 years? What if they go for a 5th year? What if?
Yeah.
Are those things that you are concerned about? No. All right, perfect. Let's move on to the next thing, right? And so planning requires an awful lot of time and diligence with each individual family. And I love the way you put it, that it's custom and it's specific to each one. And it's not just the financial planning. It's not just the college fit planning. It's succession planning for families. It's what kind of launch do you want for your kids? What are you trying to do when you retire? Are you retiring? What does retirement mean to you? It just is a much broader topic, and it requires constant work.
Yeah.
You don't just plan and move on.
Yeah. And whether it's the term financial planner, financial advisor, I will say that I have issues.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
And to bring it to light, I think one of the two things that I think irk me the most when somebody tells me, oh, I have an advisor, or things like that. And I ask very basic questions like, okay, well, how much are you guys going to pay for college, right? When you retire, how much are you going to live off of per month after taxes, right? People just don't know. They're like, oh, I don't know. Well, wait, you said you're putting money away and for this, you're putting money in a 401k. Well,
to what end?
And how much is that going to get you? So not even how much is that going to get you, but what's the goal, right? Because if you're just putting money somewhere to put it, but you don't have a plan on if you're ahead, if you're behind, right? If you don't have a plan on how you're going to spend that money, which I think is usually the biggest piece that gets overlooked. Everyone just talks about growing and saving. I can grow your money. I can grow your money. Great. Okay. So what about when do I need it? And how much do I need? And how long is that going to last? They're simple questions that a lot of people have never had that discussion. And for me, again, you heard my story, immediately. Hey, I learned that things were wrong. And I constantly hear, I have an advisor, right? I say, okay, well, why are you here if you have an advisor? Like, well, they handle my retirement. They don't really focus on the college front. I can't tell you how much that irks me. How dare you use the term that you're a financial advisor when you're not financially advising a family on something that pretty much is going to be one of the biggest expenses in their world, and you're focusing on retirement, which because you're overlooking this, what you're trying to do won't happen.
Correct.
Like you're literally saying, I don't know how that's going to work. You're going to have like an 8-year span, Joe, of putting 3 kids through college. Let's focus on retirement.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what an advisor would say. Like they just,
and I would say get away with.
Yeah, because it gets under my skin. I'm going to get fuming if I'm not having headphones and you're watching this on YouTube. You'd see smoke coming out of my ears because it's a conversation, and it's one I think that irks me the most because I've had these conversations with advisors to be offering to teach them. Right, I have advisors that come to me and say, "Hey, how can I send my clients to you for the college piece?" I said, "Well, how about I teach you how to do the college thing so you can do it?" And they just don't want to. That's too complicated. I'm like, you're an advisor. Buckle up and learn what you need to learn so that you give your clients the right advice. And eventually I say to them, fair enough, send your guys to me. Because guess what? They're my clients now. They're not theirs.
Yeah. No doubt about it.
But it's part of me used to feel bad for doing something like that. And now it's like, I gave you the opportunity to teach you, to help you learn so you can guide your families the right way. And it's amazing how often that term advisor or planner gets tossed around when they're not advising properly. They're not planning properly. And it gets under my skin. It really does.
Well, and
sorry, I didn't mean to go off on a tangent, but
you got me now. There's an old saying, if what you thought to be true wasn't, when would you want to know about it?
Yeah.
Right. And that is not explored enough. We have and I don't know if it's the trusting nature of humans or society, but like there's something like, it's almost like a badge that you put on your arm when you have an advisor. Whether they're good or bad doesn't matter. It's just that you have one. Oh, I guess I've made it. I have an advisor. Well, what are they advising on? Right. And how good is the advice? And if the advice isn't good, are you still happy that you have it? And I know from many clients that I've gotten over the years that they had an advisor. I challenged the advisor, and the advisor was incapable of producing the result, thought, or plan necessary to take them to the next level, and they left. But those people all needed a second opinion. And I think that's the biggest message that I lay out to anybody. Like, I don't care who your advisor is. I don't care what they do. Get a second opinion. Find somebody else that either agrees. And if they agree and it makes sense why they agree, great. Move forward. If they disagree, understand why. What is it that they disagree with and why? And if you're entrusting your net worth to somebody and you're entrusting your financial future to someone, it's kind of important that they know a lot about a lot of things, as opposed to, hey, I can grow your money. Right? Because those people that can grow it can also lose it.
Yeah.
As proven by the market.
You know, and I always go back and say, yeah, I manage, you know, they manage this, they manage that. And I said, okay, well, what is it that you're doing? Well, I manage their retirement. So like, are you picking out? No, we pick the mutual fund. Like, okay, so who picks the funds that are in the mutual fund? Do you do that? No. Okay. So I go back sometimes to these conversations with advisors I had, the office space, and like, what would you say you do here? Yeah. Walk me through what it is that you're exactly doing. And it's odd because some of these people are extremely successful, and there's a trust factor, right? It's just, hey, nothing's gone wrong. The guy answers my phone, you know.
Yep.
You know, when things are bad, he talks to us. When things are good, he talks to us. And, you know, but there's so much more, especially with college involved, that has to be accounted for. It's part of the reason I got so, and I'll tell you what, the one thing we've talked a few things about the College Planning Network and our stories. If you're an advisor listening to this and this is hitting home, if this sounds like reach out to us, please. I'm telling you guys, like, the College Planning Network is a national company that offers advisors like myself, that if I lived in Texas and I wanted to be able to offer this type of service, that's what that is built for.
Yep.
So if you're hearing this podcast episode and you're saying, oh my God, how do I get to do that for my clients? How do I get to become someone? Again, that's our goal, is to, I don't care if it's me. I just want someone that's knowledgeable, that knows it, to be giving parents the right advice. And right now I can tell you that we are in the minority by far.
Yeah.
For the advice that we give, the type of advice that we give out is the least amount of advice that's given across the country. And that's what I would love to change. So if you're an advisor that's hearing this isn't meant to be a pitch for the College Planning Network, but guys, if this is hitting home, reach out to us, because we would love to have a conversation with you. If you're passionate about this as we are, talk to us. We would love to be able to help you.
Yeah, and it's an all-inclusive environment, right? We're talking about planning for college, we're talking about planning for retirement, we're talking about everything, but we're talking about the strategy to actually execute, as opposed to the theory of growth and compounding and all that. You want me to rattle off the rule of 72? You want me to tell you what a 7% return every 10 years doubles, and how much money you need to put here to get to $3 million? I can tell you all that. I can plug it into my phone, put it into a financial calculator, pull out the old HP, and I can do the, and can do that. That doesn't make you an advisor. It doesn't make you someone that understands what they're doing and what they're talking about. With what level of security and comfort can you do that? Right. That's the questions that I like to understand.
And I would also say that one of the other things that changed drastically when I started getting into this, again, because I was a fee-based financial advisor prior to working at Elite Collegiate Planning. And I can tell you that there are things that I have done very differently that is for the betterment of my clients. And the one is that a successful financial plan, right? I mean, there's people that I help with their budget, right? There's people from that, just, hey guys, we need to get a grasp on this. We need to start saving. Doesn't feel like we have money to save. Like, I help people with that. But ultimately, when I put a plan in place in front of a client, I need to make sure it's achievable.
Yep.
And I will never have the solution be, hey guys, spend less money or make more. And I can't tell you that's where a lot of people, okay, you guys got to find that extra $1,000 a month to make this happen. Well, what if you don't have it?
Yeah.
Well, is it the end of the conversation? It shouldn't be. You got to figure out, okay, it's either, and I've always summed up good financial planning can be very simple. You're at a spot in your life, you're at a point, and there is a goal that is set at some point in the future. If it's college, if it's retirement, whatever it is, you want to retire at age 65 and have $100,000 a year after taxes. Well, if where you're on track for, you got to know, okay, well, I'm coming in right now that at 65, I'm going to have $80,000.
Yep.
And you got to make a decision there and say, I'm either changing the goal to be the 80,000 so that I make sure that I stay on track, or I got to change what I'm doing now to get to that 100. And it's the same thing with college.
Yep.
I want to go to these schools. I want to be able to pay this much. I don't want my kid to graduate with this much debt. Well, hey, you're on track. The way that you're saving money, the way you're positioned, the way you're going to exclude financial aid, which now makes that impossible. Like it doesn't line up. You have to change things now, or things that you want aren't going to happen. It's as simple as that. It's either something you sacrifice something now, or you sacrifice something later.
Yep.
And good planning is realizing what that gap is and how to correct it within that family's capabilities.
Mm-hmm.
And that's how you, in my opinion, that's how you truly help a family. And when you throw the college side of things in there, it's just,
yep.
It can be huge,
goes right back to motivating people to make decisions about real situations, right? That's what it comes down to.
And I think bringing that up too, like, when you say, put $100 into a 529 and you'll be good, you'll be set, asking that question, okay, guys, you put $100,000 or $100 a month into a 529 for 18 years. It's going to give you how much at the end? Like, here's the number. Okay. You wanted to spend how much on college? $100,000. Okay. You got 35. Where's the other $65,000 coming from?
Yep.
Like, we ask that question. We're advisors. Other advisors don't. Like, it's, you just borrow.
Well,
it's what? Hold on. Wait, excuse me.
We already destroyed some of the math on the 529 scenario previously, but I think we also have a tendency to live in the false sense of security that we're doing something, so it'll buff out or it'll work out.
Yeah. I think in talking with that, I can tell everybody, like we talked about the unique situations, right? If you see an ad on TV or, when you're surfing the net and an ad pops up and it's about college planning, it's not about college planning. It's buy this 529, right? It's a product.
Yep.
Right. The Gerber Life College, we started saving for college. We use the Gerber Life plan. Guys, saving for college is not a product.
Nope.
It never is, right? Every product, every vehicle has pros and cons, but any type of ad that you're talking about college should never come with just buy this product, put money in here. And that's not the right way to go about this.
Correct.
Got
to be real action planning. No question about it. All right. Any other words of wisdom for our season?
I got going once we started talking. You brought up the term financial advisor and I just went off.
Yeah. Well, it happens regularly. No, I think it's going to be a great season. We've got some really awesome guests lined up. We've got some different types of guests too. We're going to bring some finance into it. We're going to bring some additional resources to the table. As always, we'll be hitting our array of admissions officers and deans and provosts at universities. We'll talk about some of the woke culture that is plaguing some colleges, that's causing some tough scenarios. We'll talk about some more controversial topics as well. Again, our goal is to bring it to the table and let you guys decide for yourself, but present the information to you. So
and if you're a listener, you have an interesting story. If you know someone that would like to be a guest, visit our website, collegeknowledge.net.
Yep.
You can view all of our episodes on there. There's a tab, a little button you can click to be a guest. Reach out to us. We would love to have you. We always like having conversations. So again, that's collegeknowledge.net.
Yes, sir. All right. Be on the lookout for the rest of the episodes this season.
Season 2. It's going to be a best season yet.
Best season ever.
It might not be 90 some episodes long.
But. No, probably not this time, but maybe we'll keep it to a single year, right?
Sounds good.
All right, everybody. Thanks for listening. This has been College Knowledge.
Thank you guys for being a part of College Knowledge, powered by Elite Collegiate Planning. If you didn't know, we have a free crash course on college funding at elitecollegiateplanning.com. This will explain different types of loans, types of financial aid, savings vehicles, and much more. And remember, plan early and pay less. Thanks for listening to the College Knowledge Podcast with your hosts, Dave Kozak and Joe Kearns. We hope you enjoyed this week's exploration of higher education, sponsored by the College Planning Network and Paradigm Financial Group. That's all for this episode. See you next time.